Hello, everyone. My name is Jason Harris, and this is the intro to SAP Signavio Process Intelligence. And so really what I'm going to do is go through some slides and describe what process intelligence is and kind of the how and the why of it, and then go into a demo of process intelligence and where it's used in other Signavio applications. And so we'll be going back and forth between demo and the slides. And then toward the end, we'll do some Q&A. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, and I'll probably save them till the end. So I'll get through the presentation, and then I'll try to answer some of the questions you might have. Okay, so first of all, let's talk a little bit about process mining. And what is process mining? Most people hear about data mining, and it is a way of looking at patterns in data, but process mining is looking at the flow of the data and looking at those digital footprints. And so it really takes data mining to a different level, okay, to a deeper level. And so you're looking at the process flows, and then you can begin to see patterns that you don't really see in data mining. So what occurs when you're looking at the data and you begin to get into process mining is that you realize that your expectations don't always align with reality, because your expectations might be that your process is just fine. Okay, it runs in a straight line, maybe only a few outliers. It's documented, so everyone knows what to do and they're acting accordingly. And so you have an expectation of your process, but the reality is often different. And so you end up having skipped approvals, non-compliant tasks. You have reworking, long lead times, uncertainty, and lack of transparency. And that equals a lot of extra effort, a lot of extra time, a lot of extra money being spent. And so what process mining is designed to uncover is the reality that is not obvious when you're looking at a process, because sometimes you might expect something that's and then you might see something that's unexpected. And it's like I compare it to even, process insights. It's like a fancy dashboard. Well, process intelligence even takes that a little bit deeper, allows you to get under, say, the hood of the car, so to speak, and look a little bit more closely at what's exactly is going on. But you kind of need the process mining to see those things. Otherwise, they remain hidden, and then it takes really a long time to figure out what's going on. So the why of process mining. Well, you can see how your processes are performed in reality in your company. Knowing this, you can start improving your operations, standardized processes that run differently in different departments or regions in your company. Because if you have those different regions, you'll see that sometimes the same process is going to look a little bit different from one region to the next. It could be just different ways of doing the process. Could be local governmental regulations might affect some things. It could be just different machinery. Okay, so if you have the same process and they're running differently, you can compare those and find out which is more efficient, and then you can begin to harmonize those processes. That's kind of the ideal way to do it. But also you can constantly monitor your performance and understand the way your processes run um, affect your business performance. And so with this increased visibility, you can start improving your processes. You can adapt fast, achieve shorter cycle times, have fewer bottlenecks, less loops, and overall more efficient and effective operations. And ultimately, you're after happy customers and stakeholders. Okay, and so when a process runs efficiently, it benefits everyone. And now, what is process mining? I mentioned it was a kind of a subset of data mining. And it combines really three areas. You do have data mining that we kind of know about. You're discovering the patterns in large sets of data using machine learning, AI, statistics. So use case might be like fraud detection, risk management, or market analysis. Uh, But also business intelligence. So that's an umbrella term that includes the applications, infrastructure, and tools, and best practices that enable access to and analysis of information to improve and optimize decisions and performance. And then process science. Okay, that includes BPM, which is business process management. And so that allows the drill down structure on processes, end-to-end processes, and includes lean management. So it includes those three areas, and they combine to give us this interdisciplinary um, approach to actual mining of the data, process mining. Okay, so let's look at the wheel. Okay, this is our wheel of products, and exactly where process intelligence fits in this. So we see over on this left side, we see process intelligence and insights. These are our two process mining tools. There is a connection here between process intelligence and the collaboration hub and process manager and journey modeler. And we'll see that in just a moment, that some of the information from process intelligence can be visible in these. So the process manager is where we design our BPMN diagrams, where we house those, and also some of the business capability maps are created in here, navigation maps. Our journey modeler is where we look at the process from the customer's perspective. Okay, it's a table model and allows us to anticipate problems before they occur, and to see how, say a user experience is going. Okay, so you can take survey information and different demographics and combine them into multiple journey models. Process governance, process automations, where we make the process actually functional, alive. Process governance, where we do a lot of the approval workflows for, say, a BPMN diagram. You want to approve it, and then you create a workflow in process governance, and that allows it to flow through that and assigns tasks, and it'll send out emails automatically and can even publish automatically. And then the collaboration hub is where we have visibility. Okay, so this is where we can see our finished product of and our landing page, and you can see the diagram where you can have some interaction. And then we'll look at the value accelerator in a moment as well, and see what those are about. But our focus, or our main focus, is process intelligence. Okay, so there's also process insights, and so the difference between them is process insights is like a ready-made dashboard. Okay, it's very fast, and it gives you just out there right in front of you information about your process. You really don't do anything. It's not customizable. It's all out of the box. And there are limitations to it. Okay, so it's very good. It's a great place to start, and you can filter through information. You have a lot of helps in there. It's really a terrific product. But if you want to go deeper, then you really have to go into process intelligence. That's where you can drill deep, where you can use code to actually go into the widgets and create much more in-depth investigations. And so that's kind of what we're going to look at. The other difference is process insights will only take SAP data. So data from SAP systems like ERP and S/4HANA and Ariba, whereas process intelligence can take it from SAP and also other sources. Okay, it can take it from multiple different sources. It just has to be transformed into a usable format, and then you can upload it into process intelligence. So that's another advantage. And so this is the focus. Okay, so this is where the solution is part of an end-to-end transformation framework for process excellence initiatives and business transformations with SAP Signavio Process Transformation Suite. So for modeling your processes and journey models, to acquiring data, analyzing it, getting insights, perform simulations and triggering process changes. The combination of SAP Signavio Process Intelligence with the whole suite elevates the value provided by the solution. So the main capabilities, let's look at this. That includes process data management capabilities that allow you to acquire data from several systems, as mentioned. That's SAP and non-SAP sources, so that you can mine your processes end to end and at scale. The process analysis engine provides you with querying capabilities, so you can run tailored in-depth analysis of your data, ready to consume insights to reduce your time to insight and surface correlations and anomalies in your data. With analytics, visualization widgets, and metrics, you can see how your processes really run and analyze and monitor your data performance and compliance levels. Collaboration is key in a business transformation. And so insights management and collaboration capabilities allow you to collaborate with your peers, share your insights, which improves decision making and collaboration. So this all helps your company react faster to problems and quickly adapt. And then actionability, how you operate is in the end affecting your customers, employers, or your suppliers. So with experience-driven process mining, you can merge and analyze process data from your operational systems and experience management solutions together. And the benefit is that you discover um, your processes and experience reality in SAP Signavio Process Intelligence. So you're looking for those interrelations in the data, so you can trigger changes where it matters most. So a few terms to get out of the way that we need when we're talking about process mining. Okay, so the difference between a process and a case. So a process is singular. Okay, it's just one. There's one process, and a case are the number of trips through that process. So imagine you have a process that's about an order. So an order received. In that case, so to speak, the case and the order are synonymous. So every time you have an order, the process is enacted. Okay, you have a trip through the process. And in this case, so a process, you have the one process, but you can have any number of cases, okay, or any number of orders or whatever it is, whatever goes through the process, one process, multiple cases. So here we have an example where we have one process, single process, and then you have an order, item ordered, and then the trip through the process. You can go this way or you can go this way. Now this actually gets into variance. So we talked about one process and really any number of cases. A variant is somewhere in between. A variant are the number of different possibilities, pathways you can go through that single process. So with this one, the way it's designed, you have two variants. Okay, so I can go through this way. I can not print and go straight this way, or if I go print, it will go down through the printing process and come up to ship goods. So two variants, but one process, multiple cases. And all of those cases, say if you have 1,000 cases, they're going to follow one of the variants. Now there could be more variants than that in reality. And in truth, this one has quite a few different variants. Okay, so if we look at the data, you might have two different ways of shipping. So if you ship express and ship standard, okay, those would be two different variants as well. You might have, for example, some sort of repeat. If they change the order quantity, you're going to have a repeat of this whole section up here. Okay, if that's the case, that's going to create another variant because that's a repeat. So you're going through the process, and then they say, hey, hold on, we want to up the order by a couple pieces, and so you receive the customer order again, you receive more payment, and then you can travel down this way or through print, depending what they choose. So you can have multiple different variants, and it's a let's say you have 10 variants in reality in the data. Okay, let's say that's what's going on. 10 variants through 1,000 cases. So all of those 1,000 cases will follow one of those 10 variants. Okay, so that's kind of what this is showing here. So you have variant 1, where you have an order. Okay, another one follows the exact same pathway. So you have two cases, one variant. Now you have a different variant. So now you have 3 cases, 2 variants. And now we have even a third variant. So 4 total cases, and we have 3 different variants here. So that's the difference between a variant and a case.
Jason, we cannot hear you clearly. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Okay, am I coming through now?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, all right, thank you. Hopefully I wasn't off too long. Okay. Apologize for that. Something there was a little bit of a technical glitch on my end that it popped off, so I had to put it back on. So okay. I'm not sure how much was missed there, but just an event is anything that has a digital footprint. And so going through a process, all the tasks, anything that has an actual event, that would be an event in BPMN. Okay, so event in process mining is a little bit different than an event in BPMN. I wanted to repeat that in case anyone didn't catch it earlier. So an event in process mining just refers to any step along a process that has a timestamp. Okay, with that, let's look at the system for a little bit. Hey, this is a landing page to our training environment. And let me show you a couple things. First of all, to get to process intelligence, we take this little grid of dots up on the top right, and I go into process intelligence. And we see over on the left, we see a repository, data mining, data integration, processes, and actions. So really the focus of this live session is going to be on the processes. Okay, that's where you really get into the creation of the dashboards and the investigations. All of these have to do with those connections. Okay, and so we can touch on those. So you have you have your source data. You can look at that. Okay, so you have different, you can see here all the kinds of different sources for the data that's been established, and this is where you could create those and create a new source data. Okay, you have your connections and your on-premise extractors. And then data modeling. Okay, so this is a newer feature. And so this is this also goes along with that. Okay, so if I click on one of these, and I haven't really establish the full connection, but you would connect something here. One of your connections from here would be established, and then you would hook it to a process. Okay, in this case, it's connected to the dashboards, which is one of our value accelerators, which I'll show a little bit later. Okay, just a little bit of a taste of what that is. But our processes is where we will actually spend our time for the most part. And our processes include, for example, dashboards and investigations. Both of those can be created. And if I go into, say, this one, which is a current state analysis in our dashboard, you see the data that's been populated. And I can take information from this, for example, let's say I want to take this and post it on that front page. I can go in and actually anyone can view. Now I can copy the ID. When you create a new process, it defaults to private. And so you would have to go in and say anyone can view or anyone can edit, whichever one you want to do, to be able to copy the widget. Because if it's private, you cannot copy a widget. So I'm going to copy the widget ID, and it's just going to be copied to the clipboard. So I go back and I have that copied, so it's ready to put into, say, another Signavio tool. And one of those is our home page. You see here we have monitoring widgets. Okay, so these are all taken from the process intelligence process that's been created. And so what I can do is just establish those, and I'll show that later. Actually, I'll show that a little bit later about how to give a brief demo about how to update these. But it's very easy, very quick. Once you click on the copy widget ID, you can just paste it in here, and it's ready to view. Okay, a couple other ways that these can be viewed, and you can expand this out, by the way, if you want to see what these are. I can go to favorites or recent, which is going to be a little bit better, and also have the ability to put these widgets in a journey model. We'll let this come up. And it's going a little bit slow. So apologies for that. Might have to come back to that one. Let's look at this one. Okay. Okay, so that's fine. Let's go back to recent. And one of the things I want to look for is one with live insights. Let me just check something. Let's try this one more time. Okay, so I think it might be down. So let me, I'll come back to it, because what I wanted to show is that how you can put these widgets and have them visible in a journey model, as well as a BPMN diagram. So if I go into this one does not have any visible. So what I would do is go into edit. And over on the left side, we see we have something called BPM Incomplete plus Live Insights. I would just select this. And the Live Insights would be down here. And I can just take a traffic light out, and let's say I'm going to put it in the top right. And then I need to find a widget, and I would put it in the driving widget ID. So in this case, that would probably not work with this one, I think. I think I would have to use this one for that stoplight. So copy the widget ID and just simply paste it in here. Then save it. And then I just go back into the collaboration hub. And when I view it and I look at that stoplight, it should show as red. Yep. So if I click on this, it will give me a view that's showing our time to hire is much longer than it should be. Okay, so we're at 11 weeks. To hit our goal, it needs to be at like a month, okay, 30 days. And so we're well into the red. So that's something probably something to focus on. And here you see there's a link where I can open the dashboard, which would take me right back to where I was. Okay. Let's go back into data extractions, talk about that a little bit. So as mentioned, you really have the two sides of the data. Okay, the attributes I was talking about, which includes say the order information, for example, the amount of the order, information about the customer. And then the events are all of those lines having to do with the timestamps and going through the process. So every time you hit something that occurs that gets a timestamp, that'll be an event, and it will go to the event log. And these are combined with the case ID. So for example, if you have an order, that order will have a specific ID that you can look at, and it's something that will be also tied to events and attributes. And I'll show you in a moment how that's done. Okay, so data extraction. Okay, you have the transactional data, so you have to have that that source of data somewhere. And what you have to do is just do this ETL, where you extract it, you load it, or you transform it first, and then you load it. So the extraction is one thing, the transformation to a usable format is something that has to be done. And then once that occurs, then you load it into Process Intelligence and you get the usable information out of that. Okay, so we do offer the flexible data integration options depending on your needs and your current stack. So standard connectors, data integration with SAP Signavio Suite or DataSphere, or you can leverage your own integration. So you can mine your process data and extract insights. We'll look at this actually, this process here that that shows us this way of looking at it's like called process discovery. Okay, and process discovery allows you to look at all the connections from almost like a bird's eye view. Okay, you're just looking down the process, you're looking at all the different connections from one thing to the next, and it allows you to see really all of those interconnections that you wouldn't see otherwise. And so it's kind of a nice way to start any investigation. And so I'll demo that in just a bit. Okay, so we have the structure. We have really two different ways of approaching the widgets and creation of the widgets. We have an investigation, and the investigation allows you to have a chapter format. And the dashboard is really more of just that. It's a dashboard, and it has tabs at the bottom. It's a bit more interactive. You can resize widgets, move them around. And so there's advantages to both. We prefer the dashboard right now, but the investigation is also a nice way to kind of go in and maybe do your own personal investigation before you have something presentable. So a dashboard's really good for something presentable, probably. It's probably the best thing to use. but it's really two different ways of visualizing the same thing. Okay, before we get into that live insights, let's actually go in and I want to upload some information in here. And so I'm going to create a process just to demo what that looks like. And we'll call it just live session demo and procure to pay. That's what we'll call it. Okay. So I'll call it that and then create it. And the first thing I need to do is import data. And so I'm not going to be setting up a live connection. Okay, that takes a bit more work. You have to have a source data for that. And you have to really work on establishing the pipeline. But what I'm going to do is just insert some downloaded data. So this is something you might want to do if you have a one-off investigation. Let's say you pull data, you have it in a CSV file, and you just want to have it as static data that's for an investigation, one-off investigation. And what I'm going to do is put in my event log here. I just drag it in, and the system itself will look at the data and it will establish what type of column it identifies. Okay, so numbers, you have timestamps. It identifies this as a case ID. And yeah, choices. And you notice we can change these, but usually you don't want to change it to a currency. For example, if it's a payment amount, we just leave it as number. And the reason is because when we create the widgets, we can change it to a specific currency we want at that point. So I'm going to accept all suggestions and import that in. The next thing is the attributes. So I'm going to drop that in. I need to tell it it's not an event log, and it will do the same thing. Okay, it's going to identify the columns. I'll just double check them to make sure everything looks good. And it does, so I'll accept those. And then I'm going to import that in. So now that I have the data in, I can just go and begin to create a dashboard. So I'll click New Dashboard, and I'll call it just Dashboard A. I see I have my complete attribute set. So I'm going to save it. And now it's going to take me to a dashboard. And the dashboard, I can I can rename it, initial investigation. And I can begin to add widgets. So I can create a widget. I'll go to charts and tables. And let's say I want a case. I can drag it into the measures, and it will give me the table format initially, but I'm going to change it to a value. And what I will do is hit edit, and I'll say total orders. It's the total number of orders that we have, and see up here that I have to save it. So whenever I create a new widget, whenever I'm doing work, I will need to save it, because if you don't save it in a dashboard, you can lose that, your work. As we'll see later, the investigation is not that way. So with an investigation, it will save as you're going. Now, something that you can do with these widgets, and this is kind of nice, it kind of helps you develop these pretty quickly, is you have a breakdown. So I have 877 orders, and I want to break it down by, let's say, city. And there we go. So a breakdown by city. I can drag and drop these as I need to, can resize them. And let's say I want to do another breakdown, and we'll do this with type of goods. Okay, similar thing. And we will just drop this over to the right. And also what we can do is we can do some editing. Okay, for a while, this was what all charts looked like. They were all blue on white background, but now we can go in and edit that. And so I can go to customize. I will go to visual, and I can sort different ways. I can do stacking, orientation difference. So let's do the orientation like this, and let's put a data label in here. And then I can change the color scheme. And then save it. And that gives me a little bit of a different view. If that's what you want, we can do the same thing over here with type of goods. So go into edit and customize. Notice it gave me the title change. So total orders grouped by type of goods. In this case, I'll do another data label, and we'll just have those kind of like that. Okay, so very easy to format these. And also we can have, if it comes out like this, you might have to, resort it. Sometimes it'll adjust. Um, and also we probably need the names in there, don't we? Here we go. Okay. So that's one thing you can do with the widgets. Okay, pretty easy, pretty simple. Another is the process discovery. So the process discovery is actually pretty cool. And this is usually what you would start with. So let's do this. Save it. I'm going to create a widget, and I'm just going to click on process discovery. It's going to pop in here. So let's make it a bit bigger so everybody can see it. And we see that we have just this top down start. You're going through all of the process to the end. And then over to the right, you see you can expand these out a bit. And as I go up, you'll see, we have a change order quantity. Okay, maybe something unexpected is here. We see we have ship goods standard to go with ship goods express. Okay, both of these are increasing our variance. We talked about the variance earlier. If now we have change order quantity, I mentioned that's going to up our variance, the number of variants, the number of possible pathways, as does ship goods standard. So we continue to go up. And now we have order canceled. So we see we have the cancellation of an order. And now we also have the different pathways. So we've identified all of the activities. Now we're going to see all the different connections there are when I increase the pathways. So I keep going up. Now we see this little circle, or this little it's like a redundancy. Okay, so it's a repeat in this task. And what that tells us is there's maybe an unexpected reoccurrence or recurrence of a task that's not really designed in the process. So in this case, probably what happened is that you received the customer order, and there was a change order quantity, and then there was a second change order quantity. So the same customer changed the order quantity and then did it again. And so that's why you have a repeat here. And sometimes they might do it 2, 3, or more times. That's going to affect this. Okay, so we have received payment. So if you have a change order quantity, oftentimes, depending on when it happens, you'll have received payment happen multiple times. Let's see what else we can find. Received delivery confirmation is an interesting one to see a repeat on. Ship good standard as well. So probably what's occurring is that you have split shipments. And that could be tied to change order quantity. But what's happening is you're getting 42 times, 42 of the orders, 110 here, where the shipment is actually split. So it's considered a failure in that everything's not going at the same time. And that if you see 110 and 42 here, 110 and 42 will add up to 152. That means you're getting two separate delivery confirmations. You have 958, which is what you would expect, but 152 of these are repeats, meaning it's that split that's occurring. So let's go all the way up, and now we see all the different connections here. And then you begin looking at other issues that you might not see otherwise. Okay, so when you see all these connections and you know what you're looking for and you look at it enough, you see some things that are unexpected. We see the order canceled. Okay, so in this case, in this process, we're allowing a cancellation of any order with full refund. So we see 43 cases, 43 orders where order canceled after being sent to printing, and we have 15 where you have items that were already printed and then they canceled after that. So if it's already printed, then that's a loss if you provide a full refund. So that's kind of a problem as well. So you're already seeing some issues when you're looking through the process discovery. So this is a great place to start in any investigation is process discovery widget. We also have a something called a variant explorer. And the variant explorer is it sort of takes what we have in that previous and allows us to look at the variants a little more closely. So right now, each time I click on one of these, it's going to expand it out. And so we have our top four variants. And if I select any of these, let's say this one, that will give me an illustration of which one I'm looking at. I can switch to this one. Okay, so these are some of our expected variants probably. Now something kind of interesting with this, if I select this, let's see, I'll just take these top three, and I can generate BPMN off this. So let me just take a little bit of an aside and look at that. Okay, so BPMN diagram pre-created by the system. So what I would want to do is take a look at this process and kind of figure out what's going on with it. So we have ship goods express, ship goods standard here, printing. Okay, so not too bad. Okay, you would have to go in and clean it up a little bit, but it does show you what's going on with those three variants and how those are working. So you have the possibility of different types of shipping, and it looks like these three. The reason it's set up like this is because every time it goes to printing, in those cases, it went ship goods express. Okay, so it looks like none of the non-printing. Looks like all the non-printing was standard, is the way it's looking. And you'll see that with any of them. So you can look at the percentage. Okay, what percentage you're looking at here, and then sometimes if you look down, you'll see we have 95 variants. Okay, that's a lot of variants, and the reason is because we've seen some of those repeats where you have split shipments, you have the order canceled in different places, you have the change order quantity happening multiple places and in the process. those add up. And so then you'll get something like this. So if we try to create a diagram off this, it could be a bit of a mess. But then you see we have, repeats here, repeats here. So a lot going on. But this is a good place to kind of identify some of those variants and isolate those. And you can also select these as a filter. Let's say you want to hone in on let's say this one. Okay, so or this one right here. Say we've identified one we want to look at a little bit more, and that's 14. And so what you can do is just isolate that data and look at it a little closer. And how you would do that is just go into create widget. You go into charts and tables, and then you will just create a table. So right here we have case, and you can do like customer ID. And you just start dragging them in here. Okay, and then you can create a table, and then you can start isolating the ones you want to look for that particular one. So I'm going to create this, and the first thing I have to do is apply this as a filter. Okay, so right now this has 1 all the way to the end, 1 to 877. I apply it as a filter. You see it's applied up here, and now these are the only ones that show. Yeah. So this is where you can do a little bit of an investigation, and you can put it into a CSV file, and maybe you want to go back and find out, what happens with that customer ID for that. Why did this happen? So that's one way you can identify those. This is also where you can look a little bit more at the filter. Then you can toggle it off by just clicking on the little eye, and it's off. Okay, so let's look also at process conformance. And this is where you can also have something of a combination with the BPMN diagram process manager. So I'm going to create a widget and call it process conformance, and we'll see it's empty. So what I have to do is go out and actually I've got to go back in here. There we go. We'll go into settings. And I need to find, here we are. I'll just use this one. This one has live insights as well. And I'm going to map the activities to this. And notice you have auto map. What it's looking for is going to try to match the headings of the data with the BPMN descriptions here. And so if I do an auto map, we'll see that 3 of them match perfectly, and then we have to go back through and see what else we have. So ship goods standard, that needs to be on ship goods. We need to put express with this also. So this task has 2 with it. Change order quantity is not there, so we leave that as it is. Send items to printing, receive items from printing, and items printed here. Okay, so everything in the diagram is matched, and the only 2 that don't have a match are the ones that are non-conforming, which would be change order quantity and order canceled. And we call those non-conforming because they are not a part of our process flow. Okay, we allow them, but we have not designed the process to have those. So we go back to settings, go back to dashboard A, and now when we look at process conformance, we see it populated with the BPMN diagram, and also we get a visualization of the different variants going through the process. And so unlike the Variant Explorer where you can select multiple at once, this one you can only select one at a time. So we can just travel down. Look at this one. Okay, so here we have ship goods. We have a split shipment. So you might want to identify, okay, why were these split? Okay, that might be a good question. And so that's where you might want to apply a filter and pull that information and look at it a little more closely and find out what's going on. And then as you travel down, eventually you'll see change order quantity. And so change order quantity and the cancellation of an order will show up outside the pool and lanes because it's non-conforming. And it'll show up down here like that. And yeah, you just travel down. Eventually you'll see a delete. Let's see if we can find one that's like order canceled. There we go. So we do see one where you have the order cancellation that took place. And I thought we had one. We had 15 actually. Okay, let's look at the 15. Nope, it's not that one. I was looking for the one that where we had the cancellation happening after receiving. Yeah, there we go. So we had 8 on this one that shows you received the printed T-shirt, and it's probably 8 here because this occurs also um, where there's a repeat in an order or something. Okay, so it's adding up 8 with a 7 or a couple other numbers. That's why it's not lining up with the 15. Is because this is one variant, whereas this same scenario happens with a different variant as well. But this is something you might want to identify. Okay, so you're looking through this, we see, well, we've printed everything, order canceled. So this gives you a good visual of that and what's going on. Now that we've set this up to have the conforming and non-conforming when we go to Variant Explorer, now this will show up with, should show up with non-conforming as well. Let's see if we can find some of those. Yeah. And show variant conformance. There we go. Okay. I had to click on it, but you see that this now shows up as purple. Okay, so anytime you have a non-conforming activity show up, once you have it linked with the BPMN diagram, that's where it identifies those conforming versus non-conforming activities. And so this one, change order quantity is purple, showing non-conforming. Okay, so save this. And I think that one's already saved. Okay. Couple other things. We also have things like the process funnel that you can do. That's going to look similar to some of these others. You can put a diagram. The diagram is sort of like the process conformance, except it's not linked to the data. It's just a visual. So it just gives you a visual of exactly what it looks like in the collaboration hub. You just have it in front of you as a visual widget when you're looking at some of the data, so someone can reference it. Activity list will just give you information about all the conforming, non-conforming. It'll break it down by those 2 categories. It'll give you a percentage and the number. Okay, it's the number of time this was enacted, number of activities, conforming activities. So it's really not a bad chart to have visible. Then you have spreadsheet and text. Okay, this is like a mini Excel. It doesn't do everything Excel does, but you can copy paste in here. You can do simple calculations in there. It's maybe a way to keep track of information. Text also is useful for instructions or any extra information someone might need to know. Okay, so you can do all of those as well. And let me just show, let's say we have case and city, and you want to do a pie chart. So you can do something simple like that. Or instead of city, let's do payment type. This usually works out a little bit better. Okay, and you can also go in and edit this. And you can also put, you can also do what's called, and let me find it here, a threshold on these. So for example, the type of good threshold, you probably wouldn't do it on this one, but let's say if you wanted a threshold, you can do a 2-region or a 3-region, or you can just do a line. Um, let's say, let's do a 3-region, where maybe you have a goal for everyone during this time period of 100 and I don't know, 150. But you definitely want everybody above 75. And you can save that and you can see, it shows up visually just like this. Okay, it's probably not the type of something you would put it on, but we'll look at some more examples a little bit later of how this is useful. All right, so a demo of the dashboard, and just briefly here, let's look at investigation. So new investigation, we call it, you can also link this to a BPMN model. You would have to do this again, just like we did. So each dashboard would need its own BPMN model. So if I create a new dashboard, new investigation, each time I do that, it will not take what I've already done with the BPMN diagram. You would have to actually do that again each time. So this automatically begins with the process discovery. Won't go back through that, but you kind of know what that does now. And then you can just add chapters. Okay, and you can call it whatever you want. Call this chapter, chapter 1. And then you can have a chapter 2. And each one of these chapters will have its own widgets and own filtering. So I can filter each of these as I desire. So in this one, if I want, let's say, I do cases again, and I want just a bar chart, and want it done by, say, order status. I can just create it. Now the difference in investigation, number one, it does save automatically, which is good, but it does not, you cannot move these around easily. So if I, for example, if I want total number of cases, let's put this in here real quick. It's going to put it here, but I cannot drag it. I cannot resize it like I do the dashboards. Okay, so that you have less flexibility in that regard for presentation. Now, if I want to move it, I can move it, but I can only move it within the chapter, and I can just move it one at a time, like move up, move down. It's just going to place it over here. I can duplicate. and I can copy. So when I do copy to, this would allow me um, to send it to the different chapters I have. That's the only way to move it to a different chapter. And it's going to place it all the way at the end. I can filter also, just as I have that ability in dashboards. Each of the tabs in a dashboard I can filter. And this one I can filter. So let's say I want to focus in on one particular city. I'm going to say this is Houston, and I'm going to call this chapter 1 Houston. And what I can do is, I believe I can edit the name here. Yep, chapter 1 Houston. There we go. And then you can make a copy. So if you want to, once you do one, you can make copies and say, I have this set up for Houston. I want to do the next one for Miami and the next one for New York. That's an easy way to do it. It's a little bit easier in the dashboard to do those things, but you can do that in investigation also. One other thing, at the top, you have this filter also. This is the governing filter. So if I filter this, for example, for city of Miami. Okay, that's going to govern all the other filters. And you see when I go down to Houston, it's showing 0. So this has Miami, this has 0 because it's filtered only for Houston. So it's not going to pick those up. So I would have to go up and take this one out. Because it's the governing filter. Whereas all of these just control the particular chapter that they're in. Okay, so let's go back to the slides for just a moment. Let's look at the live insights, insights management, etc. So insights, this is where you can have some communication back and forth with some of your teammates, or you can assign different tasks to someone by using our insight ability here. And you also have the ability to have automated insights as well, if you want to take a look at those. So we'll actually do a couple of those, and then look at the metric library. Okay, so the metric library is where you have access to a lot of different performance indicators that you can bring in and use within your investigation and dashboard. And then we'll go back to the live insights as well. So let's look at creating some insights. Let's say this one that we put the threshold on. You see this little light bulb? I will just click on this, and it's going to allow me to create an insight. And this is an area that saves automatically. And so I'm going to assign it. I'll assign this to my my colleague Weston. And say what I can do is say business impact 2, urgency not so high, and then it's saved automatically. Okay, so I can do that. I can check on it and see what the progress is. You see it's open. And then I can do another one. So I'll do another insight, and this time I'm just going to assign myself. Okay, once again, say this business impact, say 3. And let's say I've got this one in progress. Okay, so we're going to save it again. Now I go back out and I can look at my insights. Okay, so we can see over here on the top right the different insights if you want to look at those and the time they were made. You also have something called auto insights. And the auto insights are produced by the system itself. So it'll look at the data and it will automatically give you some potential areas to look at. So this is also a pretty good place to start. And some of them aren't going to be fully meaningful. Because, for example, average cycle time is almost 38% lower than mean where order status is canceled. Well, that's kind of expected because if you have a cancellation, it's going to be shorter because you didn't finish the process. So this isn't terribly meaningful. Um, but you might see something like a time anomaly for average cycle time. Okay, so you can look at that and say, yeah, I might want to take a look at that. I'm going to save that one to insights, and I'm going to assign that to myself as well. So I have a reminder, and I'm going to say that's in progress, and we'll say we'll give this business impact with a low urgency, and now that's saved automatically. Now when I go back, now I see I have 3 insights here that um, are open and in progress. So this is a kind of a way to communicate back and forth to maybe assign different tasks to different individuals, and also as a reminder to oneself to check on some findings. Okay, so it's pretty useful, and so that's kind of what it's designed for. Okay, so let's go back in and let's look at live insights again. And we'll look at that application. We already saw this. I already demoed this, but this is where you can embed the widget ID in a process, and you can have as many in there as you want. And so when those are selected, you see a snapshot of what that widget looks like. And these are the different possibilities. You have the indicator and the traffic light, the simple value. So the value will be, one of the three colors, but it'll also have the actual value out at on the to the right, so it can be viewed. And the others at the bottom are also possibilities. This gives a little bit of information about how to retrieve the widget IDs, which I demoed a little bit earlier, and how to assign those. So you do have to select the complete plus live insights. And it can be viewed in Collaboration Hub, just like it shows here. Okay. Let me show you a different example. And actually, I want to go back into here. Let's look at our processes. We'll look at management procurement. So we have investigation here and dashboards. So we were looking at this earlier. And now we see some use of the threshold. So this is a use of a threshold if we wanted to change that. And now we have the tabs at the bottom. And see here we have two process discoveries that have different information you're looking at and focusing on. So this is where you can compare the recommendation, agency, and website. So you have high performance versus low performance based on the data, and then some of the recommendations. So this is getting to be a pretty thorough diagram or dashboard. Okay, so we have a simple current, potential, and information related to that. And then process conformance, which we looked at earlier. We see a different example of the process conformance and how the data flows through each of these based on, it's like 10 variants total. Okay. So with that, I'm actually going to show you a short video that's related to just this, basically this information here. And so we'll take a look at that, and then I'll jump back on in just as soon as it's over.
In this demo, you'll see how to use SAP Signavio to transform the recruitment stage of the hire to retire. Of each touch point, as well as the performance data. We see that candidates are generally dissatisfied during the selection phase.
Apologize, everyone. I think the audio went out. Let me go back for just a little bit, and then I'll start over. And let me know if you can hear it now.
Pitches can impede a company's growth and must be addressed quickly. The CEO and the Chief Human Resources Officer request the Chief Process Officer and the Chief Information Officer to work together the root cause of the problems and derive quick and sustainable solutions using a data-driven approach. To address these issues, we'll examine the recruitment stage of the hire to retire process. We begin by discovering the status quo and identifying the problems. The journey map tells us how the external party, in this case, the job candidate, perceives the touch points with the solar panel company. It tells us what a candidate, HR team, and the hiring manager expect during recruitment. Now that we've seen the touch points between the candidate and the company, we want to know the underlying processes, applications, and performance data to analyze what may have gone wrong in the recruitment process that created discontent among candidates. This candidate experience dashboard shows us the supporting processes and applications of each touch point, as well as the performance data. We see that candidates are generally dissatisfied during the selection phase. The number of withdrawals is high, and the time taken to the first interview is more than 21 days. We want to know what caused these issues. We will analyze the process further. In Signavio Process Intelligence, we mine the recruitment process data. We see that the percentage of applicants hired is well below the target at only 19%, and the hiring cycle time is 56 days, far from the target of 30 days. Even though applications received via referral constitute only 21% of all applications, the majority of new hires come from referrals. This observation aligns with the fact that the percentage of withdrawals is comparatively higher when hiring is done through the website and agency as compared to referrals. The average time to hire is also the shortest for referred candidates. Therefore, it is reasonable to conclude that the channel through which applicants apply for jobs affects the applicant to hire ratio and the rate of withdrawal. Let's compare the execution of the application channels. Referral versus agency and web. We are letting your data tell a story. Your data will be used to generate this analysis, showing you how your hire-to-retire process is executed. On the left is the process execution of the referral channel, while on the right, the agency and web channels. In the referral channel, the most common path taken consists mostly of desirable steps leading to a successful hire. It is uncommon for candidates to withdraw their applications or be rejected. This differs from applications from the web and agency, where candidates withdraw or are rejected at a higher rate. Let's look at the cycle time. With 6 to 7 days of cycle time between process activities, it takes an average of 26 days to get the first interview done when candidates come from the agency and web. A far cry from the 12-day average for referred candidates, where process activities take place every 2 days. Another way to get these insights is to leverage the Insights feature, the light bulb icon, at the top right corner of each widget. Analysis is generated automatically for easier understanding. We can reasonably assume that candidates from the agency and web are withdrawing because of the long waiting time. Let's check if the execution conforms to the defined model. The most common variant has an activity not defined in the ideal model, which is recording withdrawals. The company did not expect withdrawals and therefore did not include this task in the model process. We also want to understand the current level of automation. The automation rate is low at 13%, well below the automation potential of 63%. Let's redesign the recruiting process to reduce the inefficiencies that we identified earlier. You do not have to model the process from scratch. Signavio allows you to generate a process using your data. We select the variants that contain the desired activities, and with one click of a button, the process model is created. In Signavio, you can edit a model regardless of your level of process modeling knowledge. In Quick Model, you can create or change a process by filling up a table with details like the activity name, document, ID system used, etc. To ensure a successful transformation, we want to capture input from process experts in various departments like operations and IT. These employees execute the process and know it inside out. They need to have a say in how the process should be optimized. In Signavio, employees can easily provide their input, making collaboration simple. Now that we have a draft of the future model with input from all stakeholders, we want to get approval on the model. With SAP Signavio Process Governance, it is easy to turn constructive feedback into reality in a compliant manner. Setting up an approval workflow in Signavio does not require programming knowledge and can be done by a business user in a few hours. Feedback collected from stakeholders is incorporated into the future process. Process information can be visualized with various overlays. For example, we can see where pre-built bots are deployed or the priority of the activities in the process. If you wish to use SAP best practices as a reference in defining the future process, you can compare the two models side by side to visualize the process changes required. Upon comparison, we see that in the best practice, SAP SuccessFactors is used to support the recruitment process, and the recruiting administration is done by a bot, while the solar panel company uses an old system to manage their HR processes. Hence, you decide to deploy bots in your future process. To find out more about the pre-built bots recommended in SAP best practice, we head to the SAP Build Content Catalog. Once we have the final process model of the future state, we want to simulate it to confirm that it is a more efficient process. In Signavio, we simulate the process to find the best setup and predict resource consumption. Once the future state is validated by the simulation, we will use Signavio Process Governance again to obtain approval from process stakeholders. If you wish to generate a detailed report on the recruiting process optimization, you can do so easily with Signavio in a few clicks. The report template is fully customizable, allowing you to decide what important information should be included. Now it is time to implement. To deploy the bots we identified earlier, we download SAP Build Code projects from the SAP Build Content Catalog and import them into the SAP Build Lobby. We open the automation project and click Deploy. During implementation, it's important to have employees embrace changes. We can achieve this in many ways. A key to successfully rolling out change is to leverage the SAP Signavio Process Collaboration Hub, where processes are published in a collaborative mode. In the hub, Employees have a global overview of the process landscape, along with its attributes, like a list of stakeholders, upstream and downstream treatments, inputs, and outputs of each task. Knowing this information accelerates learning for a task or transaction. Moreover, you can directly link the corresponding training material to a task, so the employee learns how to execute the task. Let's find out how we are performing after transforming the recruitment process. We've exceeded the recruitment target, and the candidate withdrawal rate has gone down to 6.5% from 25.3%. The time to hire has improved significantly, though it still falls short of the target. When we look at the execution details, we see that candidate withdrawals are now exceptions rather than norms. The automation level has increased with the use of bots. Signavio not only enables you to transform efficiently, but also allows you to monitor the process and be alerted when performance falls. For example, you can create actions in Signavio to send you alerts when the waiting time for the first interview exceeds the threshold. Setting up such actions in Signavio allows you to act proactively to reduce process inefficiencies. The reason we transformed the recruiting process was due to low candidate satisfaction. Let's see if candidate sentiment has changed. In the candidate experience dashboard, we see that candidates are no longer dissatisfied during the selection phase. To continuously monitor process performance after transformation in Signavio, you can place performance metrics directly on your process landscape to get a picture of the overall business performance. In conclusion, you've seen how Signavio can transform the recruitment stage of the hire to retire process, addressing critical challenges and improving overall efficiency. By leveraging Signavio's data-driven approach, we identified bottlenecks, redesigned processes, and implemented automation to enhance candidate satisfaction and reduce time to hire. The solar panel company is now better equipped to meet its growth targets with a streamlined recruitment process, increased automation, and improved candidate experiences. With Signavio, you can continuously monitor and optimize your process, ensuring sustained improvements and proactive management of any future challenges. In this
Okay, so it was just a short video to help you understand a little bit about what we were looking at just earlier with the hire to rehire, and it gave a little bit more information about how process intelligence is used in a practical way to identify areas for improvement, to compare, contrast. So someone had a question about see what I called this. Let's go back into. So I must have okay, yeah, let's go back into this. The processes. Yeah, I did call this the wrong thing. So this isn't procure to pay. So this is order to cash. So I think I had that on my mind. Yeah, you're correct. Easy to change the name, so it's order. Yeah. I know some of you had I'm not sure how many had difficulty hearing this, but with the recording, with this being recorded, and it'll be posted later. If anyone wants to go back in and listen and watch it again, you can do that at your leisure. So it should, many of you could hear. That means it's probably being recorded okay, and you should be able to check it out a little bit later. Okay. So let's look at value accelerators for just a moment. So value accelerators are really a way to get fast results and get ready-made dashboards that are completely out of the box and produced for you for any number of processes. So there are a lot of processes that are standard across industries, and if you're using those processes and you want to you want to gather that data, you want to establish a data pipeline, and you want to begin to build out some of those dashboards, investigations. Maybe you want a place to begin. Maybe you want those ready-made, and we have a lot of these ready-made dashboards. So they show up right here in our Value Accelerator library, and they can be installed very easily into any particular work environment, any particular workspace. And they will include the dashboards, investigations, or whatever it is. I think these are all dashboards. Some of our plug and play, or plug and play, which establishes a connection between process insights and process intelligence. Often those are investigations, but anything can be converted into one or the other. You can move or transfer information from one to the other, I believe. So you would just click on one of the templates, and what it does is give you a description of the dashboard and what it contains. And then you click on install, and you choose the target workspace. So if you already have something started, you can include these dashboards in one that you've already started in an investigation or a dashboard, and it will install it alongside that. Otherwise, it will create a brand new one, and it will just call it basically a predefined name. So the process will call it a predefined name, and we'll look at some of those. And then it takes a few minutes, so I don't have time today to install one and demo that. But it takes a little bit of time. But once it's installed, then it's just a matter of having the data pipeline hooked up to it. Okay, so let's take a look at that. Go back into the diagram here, and actually I wanted to be Value Accelerator library here. So if I click on this, we see we have a couple of different products. We have three actually. So we have some ready-made journey models. Well, we have one right now, but there's going to be more coming. And then we have Process Manager. So Process Manager includes thousands of business BPMN diagrams, business capability maps, and all these are again out of the box and ready for Process Manager and BPMN diagrams if you want to have those to go along with those dashboards. But our focus would be Process Intelligence. So here's what we'd have to choose from. You have the different processes. So if you want to focus on one or the other, government, lead to cash, for example. You have all those. You have the different industries you can choose from, the different systems, and the types. So you might want to focus in on a couple different things, say dashboards, and I don't know if you have process models. So don't look like we have those. But let's say I don't know, source to pay. Okay, so we're looking at those, and these are ones you have to choose from. And say cross mining, procure to pay. That's what I was thinking of earlier, but that's why I wrote it in the wrong, I think. So this is where you go in and you would install. So with install, then you would choose the workspace, then you would choose where you want it installed at. And it's pretty straightforward. It just will install it and we'll have everything pre-built. So let's actually look at one of those. And I'm going to go into a little bit of a different environment here to find it. And let's see. Okay, so we do have some plug and gain in here. Investigations. Okay, so this one has investigations in it. And so we see these are all pre-built. And as I travel down, execution pass, process discovery. This one didn't have too much in it. It looks like most of these are investigations. So I think a lot of these are probably the plug and play, or not plug and gain. I'm sorry, I said plug and play, but it's plug and gain, I believe. So best run score, and this is one of the benefits of the plug and gain is that these come with your best run scores, and it comes with a tremendous amount of ability to get fast insights. And I don't think I can look at the code underlying this, but all of these are built using our signal code. And I haven't touched on that too much, but underlying all of our widgets in here is signal. Okay, and that goes beyond what we're talking about today, but just to give you a little bit of a taste of it, if I go into here and go into the dashboard and I see totals group by city, if I go into edit and I look at the signal code, you'll see it gives me that right here. So if you know SQL, signal is based on SQL. There were a couple of things I think we needed that SQL did not provide, and so signal was developed to handle those things. So it's not exactly the same, but it is based on the same kind of work it does. So if you know SQL, you would learn signal pretty quickly. And so that's how this put together, and any of the widgets can be built just based on signal code. If you can copy paste in there from another one and just change a couple of things around, and so that's a common way of using code anyway, and that's what's underlying all this. But Signal, we actually have training for that, and we have e-learning for that to learn a little bit more about Signal, as well as the connections. I know some of you have the questions about the source data and the connections and how it works, how long it takes. I don't have all the answers to those. Some of those can be answered through the e-learning. I believe it maybe covers a few of those topics, not everything. But I would say that as far as how long it takes, it really depends on the source data. Probably something that's SAP related is usually pretty quick. It's something some of our team works with. We have process intelligence teams that are very skilled at setting these things up and extracting data and transforming it into a usable format. And it really just it really depends on what the data source is as far as the time frame to get it transformed into a format where it uploads. I believe there was also I think someone had a question about let's see about the process. Let's see what's understanding. I think I did describe the understanding of the difference between dashboards and investigations. So I think that's answered okay. And oh yeah, cases and variants. Hopefully that's become clear as far as cases and variants. So the variants are all just potential pathways any case can take. So in this case, you have an order. And every time there's an order equals a case. That's a trip through the process is a case. So if you can have 10,000 cases, 10,000 orders, and those 10,000 orders are going to follow some pathway. And a variant are the possible pathways that those 10,000 orders can take. And we have 95 potential pathways to the end. And so those, say 10,000 orders will follow one of those 95 pathways if we had that many. In this case, we have 877 orders, and those 877 orders or cases follow one of those 95 pathways. And again, those pathways are going to look the same. A lot of them are repeats. A lot of them are just, if I increase this, single digits. It's because they're somewhat anomalous, meaning they kind of do unique things. Maybe you have change order quantity. I think we had one that's that a customer changed the order quantity 3 or 4 times. Okay, so that's going to be its own unique little variant. So that might not be something you want to spend too much time investigating. Usually, when you do investigations, you're focusing on the heavy hitters, so to speak, the ones that create the that will have the most significant ability to improve the process and save cash. Okay, so that's how those work. Let's see. Your metric, you do have access to a metric library. So we do have average cycle time. So we do have the ability to put that in our investigation also that we were just looking at. So you also have the metric library. You see the system type, the process type, and so you might want to have to search because there's a lot to search through. So those are readily available. You also have the variables, and you can create a new variable as needed. And again, you would just you basically go over here and drag and drop into the panel, and you give it a name. And let's see here. We'd already looked at auto insights and in actions. Actually, let me actually go back in here to a dashboard and show you something. So if this is something I would usually do, or you would usually do if you have a data pipeline that's updated maybe daily or weekly, depending on the data source and how you have it set up. So you see we have something called create action. And with create action, I'll show you the code here. It might be used to send an automatic email. So we have a task. And so payment breakdown, I might change this for, O2C. And then when I create it, what it's going to do is this, every time there's a data change in this, a data load, I'll get an email with the information from that. So if I hit create, that's a saved action. So now that's going to send an email to me. And if I look at the actions, you can see the ones that are created here. And so that's what this is for down here, to show all the different actions. And so you can see them kind of across the board. And I think I'll probably get an email soon about that. I'm not sure. But then you can make them inactive here as well. You can delete them out as needed. So I'll probably make that inactive in a bit, so I don't get any more emails. I shouldn't anyway, because there's not going to be any more data loads to that one. Okay, so let's see. Let's go back to the processes. Let's see this one. I think it looks like all these are plug and gain. I don't know that we have any. No, it's not going to come up. That are the value accelerators, but the value accelerators will present similar to these. Okay, yeah, this is a good one. Okay, some helpful information in there. So this just shows kind of the connection between the data and process insights to process intelligence. Okay, I do want to try to open up the PowerPoint again. See if this is going to show up now. Kind of wonder if it maybe it got moved. Okay, I won't be able to show the journey models today. It looks like we have a little bit of maybe an update going on or something with our journey models. That's why it's not showing up. But basically, you can do that same sort of widget visualization that we saw down below here in the journey model as well. And so this will be useful if you have something like survey data from customers or user data. You know, you get those um, little surveys that are filled out, and those can be collected and put into a chart with some information or simple percentage, and can be combined with the customer journey model, and then you can have it filtered by demographic for the journey model. So we have different personas that are used, and those personas have a description, and those are based on different demographics. Okay, you can also want to show the ability to export, import. So if I want to, I can export this dashboard, and then I can import it. I can import it back in. So let's do that. You can usually just drag and drop it, and now I have basically a duplicate copy, and this is it. This is the one I literally just imported. So if you have something that you're afraid, if you say, for example, if you're afraid it might be deleted out or something happened, you can always export it very easily. And then if something occurs where something's accidentally deleted, you can import it back in. Okay, so it's easy to do. So I can delete that out. Same thing with, I believe, investigations also. Yeah, you can import, export investigations as well. Okay, let me just think about anything else to cover. Let me just go through a couple of process minings in practice. Okay, so you have the value realization and use cases. Let's look at use cases actually. Core, business transformation, further use cases. Excuse me. The triggers for process mining projects. I mentioned process harmonization. So you have different locations, different regions. So you might want to harmonize those processes, and this can be useful to compare and contrast those different regions. You have the continuous monitoring. Then you can have these one-off investigations as well. We do have these success stories about, for example, here's an order to cash. Where you have the challenges and the impact, and where you had the increased cash forecasting accuracy and visibility on performance and cost reduction as some of the benefits. Compliance and procure to pay, audit and compliance. Again, there's a link there, and I believe there might be a place where this will be uploaded. So I'll have to find out later if this deck will be uploaded, where you can see those success stories and kind of get more of a write-up on these. And then automation for core processes like order to cash and procure to pay. Again, visibility, improved automation. Everyone's looking for improved automation. Project requirements, I'll go through this kind of quickly. Well-suited would be something that you have a lot of data that's being captured by IT systems, and it's usually the focus is often on those initially on those processes that are used the most. You know, in order to cash, procure to pay, support ticketing. The less suited are the one-off. Usually, you don't do too many manual processes for investigations or dashboards. Microprocesses, projects. Those are less well suited because the benefit isn't really worth the time you're putting into it usually. Okay, so you have the project approach here with the BPMN, and you have the raw data going into it, and then a couple best practice things to talk about. We get into the phases. Phase one, prepare and explore, the realization, and the deployment. And I will actually drop this into the chat so anyone can look at it if you want. So this is and that was that did not copy very well, did it? Hold on just a second. I copied a widget ID in here. Give me just a sec and I will did not copy well for me. There, that one's a little bit better. So this will take you to a page where it discusses the fit score. Now the chart it'll give would be slightly different than this. I think some of the numbers have been adjusted. But it allows you to look at your different processes and put a number beside some different categories to figure out which process is the one you might want to focus on first in terms of you know, which one has the biggest impact for strategic importance and volume and departments involved, you know, which ones have the most IT system coverage, et cetera. Okay, and then the highest number would be the one you would focus on. Okay, example, KPIs that are available with procure to pay, order to cash, issue to resolution, hire to rehire. So we did look at order cash, hire to rehire today. And so those are some of the things that are going to be part of your dashboard. And then your project approach. Okay, strategy and prep, your data preparation, and your process analysis. Okay, so with that, I think we have a few minutes left. Let me try to go through some of the questions that you have. And I'm just going to take these kind of randomly as I see them. About value accelerators, are they free with license? As far as I know, I think so. So if you have the license, what you'll see when you're in here is that you'll see the value accelerator library, and yeah, from what I understand, anyone's available to use these. I'm pretty certain. I think there's some discussion about it, but as far as I know, they are free. Let's see, the question about a process intelligence architecture diagram. I probably have to think about that one. You're probably thinking of maybe some of the more technical things. I think several of the questions have to do with a lot of technical things. And so with some of that, there's a couple of things that I would appeal to you and commend to you for that. So let's see. And I can put it in here. If you have access to Signavio, you'll be able to find it. So if I'm in here in Process Intelligence and I click on the little question mark, it'll take me to the user guide. And the user guide is going to give you probably it's going to answer most of the questions that you have. So I don't have all the questions about the process mining. The data management is probably one of them. On-premise extractors. So you have how the on-premise extractor works. So I'm just going to, let's see here, on-premise extractor. Let me just send you this link, send it to everybody so that you have it. And then what you can do is you can filter around in this. So process data management system requirements setup. And this will give you also some additional links as well. Components overview. Yeah. So if I don't have the answer to some of the questions, in particular, some of these technical requirements, I would say most of them will be found in our user guide. And you do have an advanced search, so you can usually find what you need with just a keyword search or something, or if you can put a couple, if you have a phrase you're looking for, you can look for that as well. Also our e-learning. So if you have access to that, let me just send that to everyone as well. And let's go to Process Manager first. Our e-learning is found right here at the bottom. So we have 3 different categories here for administrators and now analyzing. So intro to data management ETL. Okay, so that'll give you some information about the extraction transformation load. And I believe a lot of these have extra videos as well using Signal. So I can send this link to you as well. Our e-learning is free. And let's see here if I can get this copied. There we go. Yeah, so how would say a customer satisfaction be recorded and everything? It depends on the data source. So so if the data source is connected to to Signavio to Process Intelligence, and anytime that data source is updated with that information, it would feed into. So you feed into it, and as it's updated, the widgets would update in whatever application they're sitting in. So it could be the homepage, could be say the customer journey model that has a customer satisfaction survey, for example. As long as it's live data, I mean, you could have a flat file upload, but that might not be as useful. But probably say if you gather that information say monthly, then that would probably be the timing of that data upload. As long as it's like a live pipeline that's feeding into Signavio, then anytime that source data is or the source system is updated, it will update Signavio. Let's see. Yeah, the question about process mining, data mining. Yeah, we're kind of going through some of that. Usually, I mean, most of the data mining you'll see, if you're using something like, I don't know, some of the, your data mining systems, for example, even in Excel, you do some, you can do some data mining in that, where you're just creating some different charts, and some of what I did in my demo is actual would fit in a data mining kind of mold, but it goes beyond that because you have that flow of the data, which we were looking at in with the timestamps, which gives you all the different connections. It's sort of like process mining is sort of like data mining in 3D, where you're looking at it from different angles and look at all the different connections that you don't see in normal data mining, because you see the flow through the process, and it's really dependent on those timestamps. And so that's the biggest difference. So a lot of what you'll see in process intelligence looks like typical data mining. And then you have some of it that is it gets into the more of the process mining. It includes, like I said, it includes the business intelligence and the process, the business management aspect as well. Regarding Joule, it is I don't know the exact date. I think there's some access, but I don't know the exact date when Joule's going to be fully integrated everywhere. It's definitely coming. And I know it's being worked out, but I don't have a full answer for that yet. Okay, I think we're up against the end of our time. Just running through a little bit more. And yeah, I think some of the other maybe more technical questions, I may have missed questions. So if I did, so apologize for that. But thank you for attending, everyone. The recording should be available, and possibly also the slides in PDF form. I'll see about if we can get those uploaded as well. So because it has some helpful information and links there. So, okay, well, I appreciate your time, and thank you, everybody, and have a good rest of your day. The recording will be available. You should get a link for that, and not too long, and you'll be able to access that. All right, thank you, and take care.